Welcome, everybody. I'm Noreen Savage, and this is Starting Out Bright. Thanks so much for being here tonight. And you're in for a treat because Loraine Barrowman is in the house, and it's going to be a great time. But before we get talking with Loraine, I just want to tell you a little bit about myself, who I am, and who I'm not. First of all, I am nobody official with Bright Line Eating, but the program has done a lot for me. I became acquainted with it in 2019 when my friend Lori posted on her Facebook page saying she lost 57 pounds with a program called Bright Line Eating. Anybody who was interested could just give her a holler. So my hot little fingers got over to Messenger as fast as they could get there. And I found out from Lori there was a book by Dr. Susan Pierce Thompson called Bright Line Eating. And in the book, Dr. Thompson talks about 4 bright lines: no sugar, no flour, 3 meals a day, weighed and measured portions. And when I heard all that, I felt sunk. I thought there's absolutely no way I could do anything as restrictive as that. But I really like my friend. We got together for lunch and she proceeded to tell me more, including she suggested I get the book and I get into the online community. At the time, she suggested We Eat Bright with Lines, a private Facebook page. And I did. It's still going strong, that group, as well as many others. The Bright Line Eating Official is open right now, which is a public page. Starting Out Bright private group is associated with these Zooms, but there are many, maybe 50 or more groups. But I got in that one and I just sat and read and watched the transformations happening before my very eyes. People posting then and now pictures and saying they lost like 50 pounds, 100 pounds, 150. And for the first time in a long time, I felt hope rise in me because here I was sitting at 270 pounds. I had dieted for close to 3 decades. Just constant dieting all the time. My knees were swollen, excruciating pain. I had swollen feet, backache. I snored every night, waking up my husband, and many times with sleep apnea, I wasn't sure I was going to wake up in the morning. So I came at a point of willingness to try something one more time. And I promised myself that if I lasted 1 year, I would do what my friend did. I would be brave and post on my Facebook page and help anybody I could. Well, the year came up in July 2020, my first birthday, my first BLE anniversary, and I'm getting ready to post. And I'm a Christian. I feel God saying, Noreen, you can do more than that. You could connect people. Here it was a time of Zooms. If I could just connect the people, those stories that I was seeing in the group with those who needed the help and the hope that I needed, that would be great. But who would come? Who would come and tell their story? Well, I know who comes and tells the story. It's people like our guest Loraine, who wants to help at least one person find hope in their journey of weight loss or food addiction or whatever they're dealing with right now. So without any further ado, please help me welcome Loraine. Hi, Loraine. It's good to see you.
Hi, Noreen.
And
Hi, everybody.
It was so great to get to know you the other day. It was really fun. And I told a little bit about my story just now. People don't normally come into BLE, as it's called, Bright Line Eating, just for the fun of it. Can you kind of take us back to where you were, your frame of mind, or how far back you want to go, leading up to starting out with Bright Line Eating?
Okay. Yeah, Noreen, I really, really loved your story. And I agree. I really enjoyed meeting you the other night. And we just have so many things in common.
Yes.
It was so fun. So fun getting to know you and your story. Yeah, so I first started BLE in 2017. I too had tried different types of dieting, and some are successful and you do lose weight, but I've never found one that I've been able to maintain. So that is my excitement for BLE. And also BLE is a life change. Like I can eat this way the rest of my life. So many other things that I've tried were just quick fixes, short term, nothing that I could ever find that was long term. So how I was introduced to it was through my sister. She had told me of a friend that she had that had lost 80 some pounds doing Right Lines. And she had told me what a wonderful plan it was. Everything was different about it, just like kind of what I just mentioned. Maintenance, it's something I can live with, something I could do. I was really, really excited about it until, she told me no sugar or no flour.
Just little details.
It's one of those things that if you've never done it before, you think it's impossible.
Right.
Yeah, I just thought there's just no way, 10 years from now, I could still be doing this. But she told me about the 14-day challenge. And she said, we can do this. We can do anything for 14 days. And let's just give this a try because, so many things that she'd heard about it was promising. I didn't have the book yet. I think it might have came out right before I started, but I didn't get it until, when it first came out, it was hard to get a hold of. So I don't know if that's why I didn't get mine, but probably like a month after I was doing the 14-day challenge, did I get my book. So I just was basically going off of the 14-day challenge at first. Mm-hmm. And the first videos, those morning videos that you wake up to every morning really changed my brain. I had never had a weight loss program change my brain, my way of thinking about food, just hope. It was amazing. And during that first 14-day challenge, I lost 9.5 pounds.
Which is pretty amazing.
It was so amazing, so awesome. And I felt so good. And my brain had changed and had accepted, just everything that she had taught during those modules on the 14-day challenge. And so I was excited to do it again.
So let's just stop there for just a second, because you said something just now, your brain had changed. And when we talked the other day, the thing that kept coming up in our conversation was the food chatter. And you had told me that you were not like, a heavy child. You had, been in sports and things like that. And that is so true for so many people who they're thin until, and then something happens. And I remember you saying something, it was really about the pregnancy, right? That was the first time you even had dealt with being overweight, or what you thought was overweight.
Right. Right. Yes. So growing up, I was never super skinny. I was never tiny. I never heard those words, but I was average. And, my sisters would say, oh yeah, you just wait till you get pregnant, everything changes. And I was like, no, I'm going to work at it, and, just stay on top of it. So I remember my first pregnancy when I felt like I was doing okay. But when I was 8.5 months pregnant, I went into the doctor for one of my final checkups, and this scale said 150. And the nurse left, she went out of the room, and I just sat there and cried. I didn't think, I was so sad that I'd actually reached that weight. And so when the doctor came in, he was concerned. Why was I crying? And, I told him, and he just said, oh, as soon as you have the baby, it's going to come right back off. You'll be fine. Don't worry about it. So after I had my first child, like most of it did come off, but I really had to work at it. It wasn't easy. really easy thing. I mean, it was hard. It wasn't as easy as the doctor made it sound,
Right.
So then 2 years later, I had my next child, and I was not as careful as I should have been during my pregnancy. The excuse of, oh, I'm eating for two. I'll get this off after the baby kind of thing. And so after he came, then I had two kids to take care of and less time to take care of myself. Myself kind of wasn't a priority. And then, number 3 comes along and number 4 comes along, and just the same thing. You're just so busy and everything else seems to be before you. You kind of take a back seat for a while when your kids are little. Anyway, that's how it was for me. And
it sounds like you then started the dieting from what we were talking about. The yo-yo goes up and down. And now you find this new program. You're doing the 14-day challenge. What happens next?
Yeah, I had tried everything. So the 14-day challenge, I was doing really, really good on it. I loved everything about it. It wasn't simple, but as far as like my brain changing, the food chatter was going away. I had food chatter for years, eat this, should I eat that?
Mm-hmm.
What do I eat together? What can I eat, first thing in the morning? Just, what are you going to have to eat for dinner? What are you going to have to eat for lunch? And, if you do the 6 meals a day, what are you going to eat for 6 times a day? And just so many decisions to make and so much food chatter, especially with the not my food, like it's okay to have this. You'll start again Monday.
Exactly.
It's okay to have this. You'll get it back off.
I call it food chatter and diet chatter because
right.
when we're dieting all the time, we're like doing all this calculus in our head of how many points and carbs and, calories and minutes of exercise and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. And again, like planning the exit and on ramps, and it's just craziness. But yeah.
It is. It really is.
I want to back up too, because as the 3rd and 4th baby came, now you're not really talking about 150 pounds being your high weight, because it's
right.
creeping up. Can you say like what it was really the starting weight then when you got into Bright Line Eating?
I was really close to 200.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now
I could have even been a little over that.
Pretty good. I'm sorry. Now 150 is looking pretty good.
Right. I would be so excited to get back to 150 for right. Sure. Yes. Yeah. So
yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, I started like right around 200, and I continued the 14-day challenge for around 3 months until I didn't. So I was a girls camp director for my church, and I had 20 girls that I was taking to camp, and I had all their food, all their sleeping bags, just all their stuff to take care of. And I didn't want my food getting mixed up with theirs. I wanted it to stay separate so that I made sure it didn't get into, so that I would have it when my meal times came around. So anyway, we got up on the mountain, and I didn't have service. I didn't have any way to get a hold of anybody when I realized that I'd left my food at home. All my BLE food that I had packed and prepared was at home in an ice chest and in a bag sitting there waiting to go to girls camp, and I had forgotten it. So I was at the mercy of the situation. You told me the other day the situation was the boss.
Situation is boss sometimes when you have no way to get any food, no cell service, no nothing. And what are you going to do? Starve for how many days is this trip?
We were up there for 5 days. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is not, I mean, she's like, this is a camp. This is like serious business, people. So just if you could say just a couple of things that you have to do at this camp. This is pretty.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so at girls camp, we have 4 different levels of the girls in different ages. And each of those levels had certification that they had to pass off. So like first aid, knowing how to start a fire, knowing how to build like um, like a lean-to or something that you would need to get in out of the rain, knowing about the different plants, like what's poisonous, what do you need to stay away from, what can you eat if you're on the mountain and you need something to eat. We had to learn about the stars, the constellations. Like there was just a lot of certification, and each level had a different thing that they had to learn, and pages and pages of certification.
That's a
And
lot.
then we also did our spiritual side. So at nights we would plan big firesides. And then we would throughout the day have classes that they could rotate to learn different things. So it was a big undertaking.
Oh my goodness. And you said there's like 30 people, 30 students or 30 campers. So a lot of responsibility too. So now you have no food, you have all of this to manage, which is
Right.
a lot in 4 days. And so you're at the mercy of what food you have. So you got
Right.
a plan from what I'm hearing. And then what?
Yeah. So I
Get
had
right
to
back on.
Yeah, I had to eat girls' camp food. And the thought was, as soon as I get home, like, it will be okay. I'll get back on and resume. But when I got back home, I was wiped out. So tired from, all that responsibility. And it takes 4 or 5 months just to prepare for it. And, I was just really wiped out. So I was pretty tired. And so I didn't get started right away back on BLE. I think PECS had a big play in that, just being
PECS,
overwhelmed and
for
tired.
someone new to that acronym, PECS is post-event collapse syndrome. And I'm thinking about 2 ways of that. When I used to hear that acronym, I'd always think, wow, you get to the event, you stay bright. But it took so much willpower to do that you were fine then, but once you got home, you just collapsed. Like you had no more willpower, you get back in the food. That's what you think, right?
Right.
That's what I thought. Well,
Right.
I never really considered that some things, like everything that you're talking about that you're doing with the student campers, I mean, you're just physically exhausted. And there again is like, I have no more willpower. It's depleted. I'm done. And so I can see how you could have been like upset, forgetting your meals or packing them differently, not having them. You have that stress. Then you have just all the work. You come back and you're just done. How long did it take you to get back on?
Well, for a good steady string of days was not until I joined again in January. Before that, so it was about 4.5 years, I think.
4.5 years.
Yeah, I would try and I would be successful for a little while, and then I would fall into the ditch again. I just think, Noreen, I just didn't have the tools that I needed.
Mm-hmm.
When I did the 14-day challenge, I decided that I was strong. I was strong at that point. I really, really was, and I could do it. And I really didn't want to spend the extra money, I guess, to do the boot camp. Yeah. I think at that time it was like $1,200 or something. And I just felt like I could do it myself. I was a strong person and I just wanted to do it myself. So I realized that I can't. It's just impossible. like the support and everything I've gotten from my Gideon Games teams, from my mastermind groups, I have 2 mastermind groups and a Gideon Games team. Just, I can't do it alone. And I used to beat myself up over that, thinking, why are you not strong enough to do this on your own? I just didn't have the knowledge. And that's another good thing that comes from, my Gideon Games team. We have people that are older and younger, and some that are in between, and some that have done the program for a long time and have been on maintenance for a while. And they're just so well, their knowledge of the whole program is just such a help to me.
I know that
And
you said that over and over, when we talk to how important community is. Now, when you're talking about Gideon Games, for someone who's new, Gideon Games is a team of 10 people playing but against other teams of 10 people, and they play for who's the brightest. Now, there are official games, which is in the Bright Line Eating official membership group, and then there are unofficial games in some of the private groups and other groups. But you got into that because you got into that boot camp, and from what we were talking about, you found one day a golden ticket. And talk about that for just a second, because I know that you had a wedding in the family. You saw yourself as like, you've gained this weight. You've been off and on, off and on. It reminds me of a quote I read: the days are long, the years are short. Like, all of a sudden, 4 years have gone by.
Right.
And
right. Yes. Yeah, it's true. My youngest daughter got married. I had 7 months I could have prepared for it. It just seemed like the harder I tried, the farther in the ditch I got. When I saw those pictures, which is the picture of me in the pink dress, I cried. I was like, I've got to do something. I've really, really got to do something again.
yeah.
So one morning when I was getting ready for work, which I was, just in there curling my hair, and I just had this feeling that I needed to turn on Susan Pierce Thompson's weekly vlog, which was a miracle because I hadn't listened to her for at least a year. I would hear and there during those 4.5 years, but it had been a long time. And I had this feeling that I needed to turn it on. So I turned it on. It was a Wednesday. And she described the sign up for the golden ticket. But I only had 2 days, I think 2 or 3 days left to get the golden ticket. And I was still in a place of my mind, my emotions. I was just not ready for signing back up for BLE, even though I knew, Noreen, I knew deep in my heart that it was the answer. I knew it was the answer to my prayers that I'd been seeking. I just wasn't quite prepared for it. And I have to get there mentally before I can do it. So I went ahead and signed up because I only had a couple of days. And in my mind, on my paper, I had written I was going to start January 1st. Even though I had signed up before, I would get myself mentally prepared during that time to be ready to hit it really, really hard on January 1st so that I could tackle it this time. I wasn't going to fail this time. It was going to be, for sure this time. So I was just so excited when I heard the golden ticket. It really was my answer. So I was so excited to start again in January. I mentally had prepared for it, and I was ready. I knew this time, though, I had to get all the tools. So with the membership, you have your boot camp and your community, and those have been the big things for me. I knew I had to join the community. So after I signed up and I got started, I it took me a while to be brave enough to join the community. And I think that I was a little nervous because I didn't want to fail again. And if I failed again, if I had a group, they would know. I wouldn't just be the only one that would know that I was going to fail. So I knew that they would keep me accountable, right? And that's what I needed. I really, really needed it. But I also didn't want to fail and then everybody know. So it took me a little while to join the community, even though I knew I needed to. But now, Noreen, looking back, I know that the reason it took me a while was because everything lined up the way it should have. When I joined the community, I saw Aaron Hart's Facebook page, and that led me to the Brightest Eaters of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which is my faith. And I think if I would have signed up before and I wouldn't have saw Aaron's post, I wouldn't have gone to the Brightest Eaters. And when I went to the Brightest Eaters, there was a post to sign up for a sponsor. And so I was a little hesitant, but I knew I had to do it. And I signed up for a sponsor. And in a couple of days, I received a phone call from Beth Monroe. If any of you know Beth Monroe.
She's a rock
I didn't know
star.
who she was at the time. And I was just so excited. She was my sponsor for 6 weeks. And she was so giving in her service, in her help, in her wisdom, her knowledge. She just really helped me lay a really strong foundation for my journey. So I know that everything worked the way it was supposed to, and the timing was perfect the way it was supposed to be. And I'm just so grateful. I'm so blessed. I'm really, truly blessed.
And I just got to say, because I've seen that group in action, and it's an incredible group. This whole piece about offering service as a guide that some of your fellow members are doing is just incredible. It's really like beyond just being a member, it's holding your hand and really guiding you. So, I mean, Beth is just a rock star, and what a blessing that you two connected, because it was more than just guide and like a mentee. It's you became friends. And that's what a lot of this is the friendships that start becoming. Who would ever think that what we have been so challenged with can now bring us so much joy in finding friends? I got to point out too that Beth is also known, and I know that you kind of followed her advice of batch cooking, right?
Right.
Let's talk about that a little bit, because I want to get into some of the habits that you've come into and has been really a part of your journey. Let's talk about the batch cooking, though. You told me that you are very systematic about it. What do you do to prepare your food?
Well, I am, and because I work full time, I kind of split it up over the week. It just kind of depends on what I'm low in and what I need. The other night, I browned 5 pounds of hamburger, and I season it, and after it's all cooked, I measure it out into my 4-ounce portions and put them in a small baggie, and then I just put it into a bigger baggie and throw it in my freezer so that when I'm ready for a taco salad or I do spaghetti squash, I use hamburger with that. So I just batch cook. The other night, I think I cooked 6 spaghetti squash. And when they're done cooking, I just take them out of the oven, shred them all up. And then right then I measure them out into the portions that I need. I add a little bit of olive oil to it, my seasonings. And I do that with rice. I do it with sweet potatoes. My fruit, I section out. I wash it. If it's grapes or if it's oranges, whatever it is, I prepare it completely, wash it, peel it, whatever it needs to be, and measure it into the 6 ounces and throw it in a baggie and throw it in the freezer.
Yeah, I saw
So,
that you even had bananas cut up in the picture that you sent me. That's on the slideshow. Banana slice, you had grapes. I didn't know you did that with oranges, but you do that with oranges, other fruits too, or no?
yeah, blueberries, peaches, just anything that's
Now,
been in season.
and I understand that you also are doing the 10 ounces and 10 ounces. So in the book, it talks about 6 ounces vegetables for a woman for lunch and then 14 for dinner. But a lot of people go to 10 and 10. I personally
Right.
go to 8 and 12. That's mine.
Mm-hmm.
But so how do you manage that for packing your vegetables? What do you pack them? How do you pack?
Yeah, I do that for my vegetables too. And I do 10 and 10. You're right. I do 10 at lunch and 10 at dinner. It just seemed like when I was trying to do the whole 14 for dinner, it was a lot of vegetables at night.
Mhm.
So I kind of like the 10 and 10, and I've done it that way pretty much since I started again.
And so you pack 10 ounces of vegetables?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I pack them into 10 ounces and put them in their little baggies and just throw them in the freezer and they're ready. So in the morning when I get up, all I have to do is take them out of the freezer and put them in my little lunch bag and prepare them when I get to work. But it also has saved me because a lot of times on the weekends, if we're just decide to go somewhere or decide to do something, it's really easy to grab and take. If I'm going to my son's house or one of my daughter's houses or anything, I just normally take my own food when we go out to eat. Sometimes I'll take it in my little bag if it's something that I know I can't get when we're going out. And so it's just really convenient to have.
So besides the hamburger, do you do that with other meats too?
Yeah, I do. Let me think. Chicken. I do it with chicken. I can either shred it or just cut it up in pieces just so that it's ready to take. I do eat a lot of fish. And so sometimes I'll get a big piece of salmon and cook that all up. I usually eat that before it goes bad because that's how much I love salmon. So I don't usually have to freeze that again, but I do cook it all at the same time. And then it's in my fridge for the next couple of days already cooked so that all I have to do when I get home from work is just warm it up.
You know, I just have to mention because people have talked a lot about prepping. And a lot of times I'll hear prepping as a whole meal together, which is awesome too. Like the whole meal frozen like a casserole kind of thing. Or like I do BLE, like baking muffins or things like that. That is like a whole meal. This is a different concept that I want to try. That it's actually components of a meal that you can mix and match and have a meal ready to go or to add to something. Like I could easily see the 10 ounces like squash, but you might not eat 10 ounces. You might take 5 and then save 5 for the next meal. So that, I mean, all of these things, did you plan all this kind of stuff before BLE? Did you like this?
No, I got this idea from Shauna Murph, who's in my Gideon Games team, and from Beth Monroe. I think quite a few of us on our team does it.
Well, it's
just because it's so convenient.
Once you do something like that, it's hard to go back to the old way because you find like, why would I want to? This is so much easier.
Yeah.
And you're actually
it is.
You are on
it is. And when I get home from work, it's just my dinner's ready. I don't have to think about, preparing it. I have written it down the night before, but
well, let's talk about that. So with community, do you have like a buddy or mastermind or what do you do? Do you commit your food, or do you just write it down for yourself to commit to you?
When I had a sponsor, when Beth was my sponsor, I had another sponsor. After that, I did commit my food to them. But now, who I commit it to is my Heavenly Father. In the morning when I say my prayers, I just say, I'm committing my food to you, and this is what I'm going to eat today. And please keep the food chatter away and, keep me strong. And then at night, I just say, I'm reporting back and I've had a bright day. Our group is kind of low on sponsors right now. So I didn't want to take the place of somebody else that would need a sponsor. So when I was praying one night, I just had this feeling like, Heavenly Father, he just told me, I'll be your buddy. You can commit your food to me. And so that's what I've done most of my journey.
I absolutely love that. You write it down. And one thing, you shared a journal page with me, which is also on the slideshow. What I liked about that is you wrote a note underneath the food about how you were feeling or what was going on that day. And it's so easy to forget about that part. When you look back at those pages, what do you think? Do you go back to get food IDs or anything, or to even just look where you were a year ago?
I do.
Or it's actually January of this year that you started.
Right.
So what has changed now?
Right. Oh, it is. It's just so empowering to look back at those, because some days I feel like, well, I am a slow loser. And so some days I get a little discouraged, or, why is this taking so long or whatever. But, the page that I sent you, I think it said something about this morning when I got on the scales, I really, really just wanted to be in the 170s. Like 179 would have been great. Just to get out of those 180s.
Right.
And I think I weighed like 178 or something. I was out of the 180s and I was so excited. And now I'm saying that to me about the 150s, like if I can just get out of the 150s, I'll just, be so excited. And I'll get there, because looking back at that journal entry just keeps you motivated. It does me. It really helps me to see where I've been, to see what my emotions were, where my brain was at, the things that was going through my mind at that time, and just the things that I'm grateful for. I have truly been so blessed on this journey. And I love to go back and just read those things again. And a grateful heart really cannot be sad,
It really makes
it just helps me to stay motivated.
And I'll just like jump on too, as far as journaling. I had a hard time journaling to the point of having a buddy who had like checked in. I just really wanted to do this 5-year journal, and it took a long time to get in the habit. But now the fruits of the labor is coming around because it's another year. And I'll look back, and right now I'm only 14 pounds lighter than what I was last year, but I'm 14 pounds lighter than last year.
Right, right.
And so,
yes,
even though it's maybe not where I thought I would be, it's way better than where I was. And so you feel the gratitude there too, that even though slow progress is still progress.
For sure.
Do you use any other kinds of things to help keep you motivated?
So I shared a picture of my tracker. Every night I color in a little square for each day that of my journey. And I know she talks about it in the 14-day challenge, that Seinfeld says something about, he sits down every night and he just writes jokes. And he does that every night because he doesn't want to break the chain.
Wow.
Right. And that's what I feel with my picture, my tracker. I know it's downstairs with my stuff for tonight. I forgot to bring it up with me, but each night that I can fill in a little space just keeps me motivated. It's like putting a sticker on the sticker chart. And I love your sticker chart, Noreen, that you shared. It does. You just don't want to break that chain if you can help it.
And now I'm on a chain for what I call loving movement, that I commit to somebody after the fact. It's more like I'm doing a done list instead of a to-do list. It's like I don't, it's not about how many minutes. It's not about how hard the exercise was. It's just I want to start thinking in my mind that I'm a person who moves my body at least once a day. And so it could be 10 minutes of walking, it could be 10 squats, it could be 45-minute walk, or 3 planks. It doesn't matter. It's just every day, it's almost a challenge to myself. What will I do today? And I don't want to break that chain. Today is day 77. So I'm feeling really good about it. Don't break the chain. Just just keep going. And
I love that.
And even, coloring it or making a mark or whatever, even if you don't, it's modified that day, but you're still going strong. And I think that's all a part of it, is still keeping on going. And I mentioned exercise. When we talked the other night, I said, do you exercise? And what did you say?
I said, I walk my dog right now.
And I love that. Again, it's movement. You're doing it consistently. I mean, what is wrong with that?
I know it is. It just makes you feel better.
Right.
Really, really makes you feel better. In the first time when I did BLE in 2017, I really listened and took Susan Pierce Thompson's advice to not exercise. And I really missed it. I kind of missed it. So when I started again in 2022, I now understand that she wanted you to get your food to be a habit and not worry about both. But if you do both, if you already exercise and it's a part of your daily routine, that it was okay to do it, to continue to do it. So I have continued to do it. And I do. It's, I walk in the door from work and he's jumping on me and he wants to go out for a walk, and he loves it as much as I do. So
yeah.
We have fun.
It's so different when you change off the mindset of exercising to lose weight and exercise for whatever. Like today, I put a timer on for 5 minutes because I tell myself I want to walk at least 10 minutes. After 5 minutes, I'm like, no, I have more to think about. It wasn't about like, oh, I need to do 20. No, I just have more to think about. I have a few minutes. I have fresh air. I have beautiful colors here in Michigan. I just need to think about this and enjoy today. What a different thought than what the old way of diet and exercise, what was really drilled into all of us, of what that piece of exercise was. It's really freeing.
It really is. Yeah. Now you can do it with your heart.
Right.
Now I exercise for fun. I love it. I do it with my heart instead of trying to beat myself up and being wiped out by the time I get done.
Exactly.
I really, really enjoy it.
I want to ask you too, because another thing that happens when we're on this journey and we're not filling our days with eating all these meals that we have to plan, or else snacking on stuff we shouldn't be eating, we open up ourselves to hobbies. And I just want to talk a little bit about that, because you said 2 of your top hobbies are quilting and reading. You do other things too, scrapbooking and things like that too.
Right.
But while we were talking, you talked about a book, and I wanted to give you a minute to talk about that book that you're reading right now, because I think it applies to all of our journeys.
Oh, it so applies to our journeys. So the name of the book is called The Traveler's Gift, and it's the 7 decisions that you make to succeed in your life. It's for success in your journey. We actually started it at my work. I teach school. I help troubled teens that are at a ranch. I help them with their schooling and helping them get through school. So we are studying this book called The Traveler's Gift and the 7 Decisions. And it's still kind of new. So I've kind of, I'm still learning, but the 7 decisions are, number 1 is the responsible decision. And so it's like taking responsibility for yourself. Like, I used to, there's times that I could have blamed others. I could blame pregnancies, friends, my husband every time, at night wants a bowl of ice cream, and he's like, come and eat with me. My mother-in-law was an amazing cook. And I know every time we would go to visit, I would come home way heavier than when I went. And, I just have learned that I have to kindly tell people that I can't eat their food and that I have to do this because this is better for me and I want to be healthy. So I've taken responsibility for that decision. And I don't blame my mother-in-law or my pregnancies or anybody else. Like, those things that I ate were my choice, right? So I take responsibility for it and I'm going to do better.
Yeah.
And then the second decision is the guided decision, where it says, I will seek wisdom. I will train like my eyes and my ears to read and listen to good, uplifting things that will help me be a better person. That decision also talks about being a servant, and they who serve the most grows the fastest. And it says, I will not look for somebody to open my door, but I will open the door for others. So it kind of talks about seeking wisdom and learning from others. And I'll just tell you, my Getting Games team has freely given their wisdom to us as a group. We just learn from each other, and that just helps me so much. And that's what I want to do. I want to get to the point where I can gain that wisdom and share it with others to help them on their journey too.
Wow.
So I really like that decision. The number 3 one is the active decision. So I will create a new future by creating a new me. And I won't like moan over lost opportunities, right? When I'm faced with doing something or doing nothing, I will choose to act. I will choose to do something. And it says God feeds the birds, but he doesn't throw the worms in the nest for them. They have to go out and get their food. So just like the birds, like he expects us to be proactive, right? We need to move forward and do the things that we need to do to change our lives. So through that decision, like, I've just decided to move forward with my life and make a better life for myself by making good decisions.
Wow.
None of the other decisions that I make will do any good if I don't act upon them. So I need to be a person of action and move forward with my decision.
I think that we're going to all have to get the book to read the rest of those 7 things. But that is a great teaser for us. And it really shows it's not just about thinking. I love that about he doesn't throw the worms in the nest for the bird. There's some action and do that we have to do. I really like that. I'll have to get that book. But when you said that, it made me think of a conversation we had about identity for yourself, that you talked about one exercise in particular during the boot camp that was really a powerful experience for you that helped you take on that new identity. Can you talk about that for just a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is. It's the very last thing on the boot camp preparation module. It's by Susan Pierce Thompson. It's like a little meditation thing that she has you do. So she has you sit on a chair on one side of your bedroom or the living room, wherever you want to do it, your kitchen, wherever. So you sit on one side of the room in a chair and you close your eyes. And she talks about your past life, of how you felt when you ate not my food, the kind of the failures that you've had, the food that you've eaten that has made you feel sick, has, really affected our bodies in a bad, unhealthy way, right? Like your knees are hurting, your back is hurting, just all the internal organs also, all the things that our past life has done to make us unhappy. And she talks about all those emotions, all those thoughts. And then she asks you just to kind of leave them, just to throw them away, get rid of them and change, to a different life. So she has you open your eyes and she has you cross to the other side of the room. And she says, just imagine that there's a line in the middle of your room and you're crossing over that line to the other side. And when you get to that other side, you're a changed person. You no longer are a part, that past is no longer a part of you. So to change the way you think, the way you identify yourself, and the things that you eat starting today, change that about you and change your identity. It was so powerful. And when she said it, I just felt like all this heavy burden, all this weight, all this load just coming off my shoulders. And she promised a better future. And that's what she's given us. If we follow the plan.
If we don't just expect it thrown into the nest for us, and we gotta do some of the action parts. Well, as the time is clicking away here, I have two quick questions. The first one is, you've been now from January through to October, after a 4-year ditch, after working at this for 4 years to finally get to where you're now going strong again. What are the non-scale victories? Yeah, you can't even measure on the scale that you've gotten from getting back on track.
Oh, I would have to say the biggest one is friends. The friendships and everything that I've had from getting back on track. I never, ever would have dreamed the friends that I have found, how short this, how small this world is when you really think about it. I mean, you live up in Michigan.
Yeah.
And I live here in Utah. I never would have thought I would have known somebody from Michigan. But because of this BLE journey, Noreen, you are truly one of my new best friends. I just love you.
It's amazing. It's absolutely.
And it's so amazing.
Yeah.
And I have friends in Washington. I have, Wendy Reynolds is in Alabama, and Deborah, my friend Deborah's in South Carolina, and they're just all over. I have friends in Canada and Washington. It's just amazing.
This is so crazy. It's amazing. Like we think we have this big struggle and we bring this with us, and it's the thing that binds us, this empathy, right?
Right. So, and you might not think that's like a non-scale victory. It's not really a victory. It's just one of the joys from this journey that I have. Yeah. Probably the non-scale victory is I can wrap my fingers around my wrist. I never could do that before, and I can touch. I can cross my legs, which is, heaven to me. But also the food chatter that we talked about, it's basically gone. I don't have I have peace with my food and peace with all my thoughts. I am a different person. I'm more confident. I reach out to others a lot more than I did before, which I'm a pretty social person and I love people, but I used to kind of hide more than I do now. And I like to get dressed in the morning. That's a victory, because before it was like,
Yeah.
what am I going to wear? Nothing fits. I don't like
Right.
anything on me.
Yeah.
So that's a victory. I used to have a hard time looking myself in the mirror and putting on my makeup. So that's not a scale victory, but that's a victory. I just think just having peace.
Those are so good. So here we are, the last question.
Okay.
There's somebody listening tonight, or they'll listen to the recording, and thank you for letting me record this. And they may be where you were. What would you say to them tonight about getting started again with Bright Line Eating?
Oh, it's so worth it. It's so worth it. There is a better life out there, and it's better than you can imagine. This feeling is not, there's not a food out there that can replace it. It really is such a happy place, such a happy feeling, such a good place to be, such a better life. Like I said, I do more things. I'm able to serve more people. Like, my biggest regret really has been that I didn't do it sooner, because I could have enjoyed my life so much better if I would have done it sooner. It would have maybe been harder because I had young kids or something, but whatever sacrifice there is out there, the time, a lot of people will say, oh, it takes so much time. Everything that we do is worth it. It might not be easy, but every day I just wake up and look for the treasure in the day and face it with an excitement. Before I didn't have any hope. I didn't have any excitement. And my life has just changed a lot because I finally did something about it.
Wow. Just so incredible, Loraine. I mean, you are really, really inspirational to me. I mean, and we share a lot of things that we won't go into, other than like night owls and a lot of the same favorite old foods and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of different things that have just come up in our lives, daycare, all this kind of stuff. And, if you would have been on the journey a little bit earlier, you might not have met those people at that time. I think that the path is set and we just find it and we find our way. And how beautiful that our paths, all of ours, have crossed right now at this moment. So
yes.
I just thank you so much for your willingness to share your story. Do you have any last words for us before we close?
I just, I think another thing to my success has been, the higher power, my Heavenly Father. I just really couldn't do it without him. I'm just grateful, serious, to him, to Susan Pierce Thompson, who I know was truly inspired to help all of us. She's amazing. I know she loves us, and I know, her reason for doing it was for each of us to be healthy and, in a right sized body. And I really, really appreciate her knowledge and her wisdom that she shares with us. I just couldn't be happier. Serious. It's just made my life so much better.
And it shows. So great. So great to get to know you.
Thanks. You too.
Thank you. I'm going to close tonight as I do each week. Good night. Stay bright. Don't let the bed bugs bite. Good night, everybody. Thanks, Loraine.
Thanks, Noreen. Good night, everybody.
So, Loraine, how would you like to play 3 Question Thursday? Let's do
Okay.
it. All right. Well, I'm going to take a question from our chat because there's one that's a good one. What has been your favorite go-to measured meals? Do you have a favorite? And any particular herbs and spices you eat now a lot you didn't before? It's really kind of a double question.
Okay. That's all right.
So basically, like, what are you doing with these measured meals? Are you putting them together a certain way or spicing them
Most
up
of
a
the time
certain way?
I just eat them separately most of the time. But my favorite probably is a chicken salad. I just shred up my chicken and then I put like chopped veggies in it, like celery, onion. I put grapes in it. And then for my fat, I just put a little bit of mayonnaise and then I just put salt and pepper on it. And I just eat it like that. It's kind of, yeah, it was something that I would eat before too.
Yeah.
It's just that chicken salad. You used to put it, I mean, I used to put it on sandwiches, on a croissant or something. But now I just put it either on a lettuce leaf or I just put it on my plate. But it's so good. It's just, yeah, your shredded chicken.
So smart. That is
It's so good. It's really good.
great. Do you have any favorite herbs or spices that you eat now a lot?
I use garlic, salt. I use, I like salt and pepper, but I like a lot of Mrs. Dash's.
Okay.
She has a variety and there's not one that I like better than the other. They all have a lot of flavor in them. So Mrs. Dash is really good.
Okay. Well, that was all one big round, one question.
Okay.
Question number 2. Do you have a favorite mantra?
Yes, it's the one that was on the video at the beginning.
Yeah, I didn't get to that, but I wanted to ask you because I thought it was a good one. Go ahead.
Yeah, when Satan says you won't be able to withstand the storm, and I say I am the storm. So that just keeps me strong because if I'm going to defeat Satan and all of his temptations trying to get me eat not my food, like I've got to be strong. So that's just a very powerful one to me to stay strong.
And I think even what you're doing by taking a few steps ahead of preparing these dishes, preparing these batches, this all helps with the willpower depletion that keeps us strong. Having things at the ready, like I can grab this. I mean, you literally could be going out the door to go to someone's house and grab a few things and put it in a cooler. Like if you didn't know what they were going to eat, you could have a backup meal so fast.
Yes.
It's really a great idea. I do that with some of my breakfast bakes. At least I have that if we're going on the road. I mean, I've taken them to the hospital with me when it was a quick, I had to take somebody. So you just never know. And so it's really good. And so the third question, this is for all the marbles, all the money. I want to take you back to something you said about almost regret of what you wish you had gotten in earlier, because 4.5 years is a long time.
It is.
But now
it's a long time of misery.
Looking back now, does some of that being in the ditch make you stronger, knowing that you don't want to go back to that?
Yeah, I think it does. We can learn from our mistakes and they can make us stronger. And I know how hard it was to get out of there. It's like a mental thing. Like you have to get your mind, not just your willpower, but your brain has to be there too. And sometimes that's hard. Like during those 4 years, I couldn't get my brain engaged fully again. And there was just too many like pulls on me to go off. And so to have my mind strong again too it's not worth trying to, go off and try to get my brain back engaged again. So
it's like, you know what? I'm not going to blow it for 4 days and I'll start again on Monday.
Yeah. Yes.
You've been down that road before and
Uh-huh.
you don't need to do it again.
Yeah. And I haven't been perfect since January. I've had a few days when I have been off, and it's so hot. It's so crazy how fast all those old habits can come back. You know,
You do.
how all that food chatter came back. It took me a while for that food chatter to go away, but it just took me a while, even longer actually, to feel peace again with myself, to get that integrity back and to feel good about myself. Took even longer than the food chatter. So yeah, that food chatter, Shauna had showed us a graph that, you know, when you start and the food chatter is really, really strong again after you've broken your lines, then if you say no, you know, it will come down a little bit and get a little bit easier. And then the next time you say no, it gets a little bit easier and a little bit easier until it will go away again. And it has, which I'm grateful for, because yeah, being in the ditch was not a fun place to be.
And
It was really
definitely a
hard.
process. Well,
Yeah.
congratulations on getting back onto the road, that 2 feet over. You made it
Thank
back.
you.
Stay on the road and keep inspiring all of us.
Thank you.
I just thank you so much again, Loraine, for your friendship, for telling your story, and thank you for playing 3-Question Thursday. It's been
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Stay bright.
Good night.